Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. How is everybody doing today? So we have deep dive and full ability list of Madelyne Pryor. So as always, we're going to take a look at some gameplay, take a look at her prestige, break down her abilities, and I'll give my commentary. As always, remember that this is just initial assessment. You know, you never really truly know how good or bad champions going to be until they actually land in the game. We get our hands on them, we see whether they do have meta impact, how good they are in each individual matchups, so on and so forth. But we can, already kind of start setting our expectations, I suppose. So let's check out her gameplay and rotations, and she's quite unique. Like, the pre-fights are not absolutely must-haves, but are definitely quite nice. I suspect that Infuriate would be very, very good to kind of get AI to cooperate better with us, but she plays in a fairly unique but straightforward way. What you want to do with her is get to your level 2, activate your Goblin Pit, and then stay above it, bait out heavies from the opponent and punish them. And as you do that, opponent is just going to start degening a hot ton. And the way it works is she places a hinder on the opponent that reduces the buff potency of any buffs that opponent gains. And then, based on how strong those buffs would have been, that determines the strength of your Degen. And she places her own buffs on the opponent, obviously with that punishing the heavies. And again, that does trigger the Degens. And we can see that that is generally how she deals with these fights. So she can take Thanos as well, for instance, because even though she doesn't counter his unstoppable per se, but she does, hit like a single hit for the most part, so you do not need to worry about the tempo of the fight. And she has been shown to kind of take care of Hulkling as well, because she's basically ignoring the Pierce for most part, because she does have her Force Shield, just like Jean Grey does, and she basically takes less damage from increased block proficiency with that Force Field, and that Force Field absorbs 100% of the block damage until it, gets expended. But you can recharge it with level 1s or by charging a heavy attack. Additionally, you do have very potent power control in level 3 as well, that steals exactly half of the opponent's power. Eventually you do give it back, but again, hopefully with your hinder, that is smaller power gain, and that means more degens, and that is all that there is to it. So she looks kind of good, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I always try not to get like super hyped for champions, but she does look with a straightforward playstyle where, again, you just need to get your level 2 off to get things started. You have a couple of different ways how you help yourself to do that. Via the awakened ability, you can either choose the pre-fight or have the uncanny there, where you need to use less power to get your level 2 off initially. And then you just kind of, because that has always been like a very specific, not lure, but advantage to those champions that don't need to strike the opponent a lot, because that generally also means you give less, options for opponents to evade. You give them less options to trigger specific abilities that have some sort of percentage chances. And in quite a few cases, like if you remember since the days of Omega Red, just the fact itself that you do not need to land like 80,000 hits on the opponent to get them down can be tremendously helpful. Obviously, combine that with degeneration and this like dot passive taking damage again. It in itself has some advantages, what I was trying to get to. So, about Madelyne Pryor, current roller of Hellish Dimension known as Limbo, and her prestige, 33,710. Where does that land her? Exactly where it lands every single champion released over past 3 months. Kabam, sit on a stick and sneeze. I swear to God. Not every champion has to be a top 30 prestige champion. Like, everything and everyone that Kabam has released in the last 3 months is in top 30. It's quite ridiculous. So, like, half of the top 30 prestige champions did not exist 3 months ago. You greedy little sluts. Okay, anyways, 33,700, so she's just above the Serpent. She's gonna be spot number 15. Let's move on. Survivability. 4.5, that's largely due to her force field and you being able to recharge it, which kind of makes sense because you effectively can do entire fights by taking hits and block without taking any damage, so that makes sense. Damage 3, so that's not necessarily marked as the best. Again, you can never believe these truly, because I suspect that, again, in buff-heavy matchups, it's probably quite high, and then in, like, Winter Soldier, that's fairly mid. So we'll see when we get to it, but, you know, hopefully the damage holds up. That's, like, one of the big question marks with her. Ease of use would be 2.5, so not the easiest, but to be fair, it didn't seem that difficult either. Utility, 3.5, fair enough. Defender strength, 3. And again, I don't think she's going to be particularly difficult defender to deal with, but I do think you will obviously want to avoid champions that gain buffs for the most part. Because you could, you know, catch a Degen and that's going to be a ton of damage. So Madelyne Pryor's mechanics, the Goblin Queen of Limbo, is ready to rule the contest. Madelyne Pryor uses Sigh of Sorrows to punish the opponent's moves and imbue them with misery buffs, which have no effect but do have potency, which multiplies for each copy of themselves. After all, misery loves company. Turns out that denizens of Limbo also love misery, and Madelyne can summon them by opening a pit in Earth using her special 2. The resulting Chasm of Clawing Arms hinders the opponent, reducing the potency of their buffs, and that inflicts the degens, basically. Madelyne's force field absorbs all the damage from the blocked attacks. For Madelyne's opponent, gaining a buff while hindered can be deadly. Any missing potency from the buff gain is inflicted on them as degen. Not all buffs have potency. For those that do, Madelyne will want to hunt the biggest, baddest among them to inflict some truly dangerous degenerations. So, abilities, misery, degeneration, hinder, and inexorable. Inexorable. I hate that word. Whatever. Standy in one placey, Buffy. Champion summary. So, interrupt and punish attacks to inflict opponents with misery. Special 2 spawns a pit of goblins. When buff is hindered, the opponent is degenerated based on the lost potency. Her force field absorbs the damage from attacks and grants immunity to bleed and rupture, which is also, by the way, very useful, but I think that works only offensively. Defender summary. Her force field absorbs damage from attacks. Special 2 spawns a pit of goblins and hinders you. Getting buff while hindered may inflict degeneration. While she stands in the pit, Madelyne is inexorable. Awakened starts each fight with temporary uncanny, which means she needs less power to throw special. So Sigh of Sorrows, always active. When the Sigh interrupts the opponent's heavy charge or punishes their heavy combo ending or special attack, it places plus 100 misery buff for 6 seconds. Time slows briefly when hindered. Defender charges a heavy attack or finishes a combo ending attack. So that makes it easier for you to punish them before they, drop the first hit of heavy. When a buff with reduced potency activates on the opponent, inflict degeneration passive, dealing up to 14k direct damage, scaling with buffs missing potency. Cosmic opponents suffer minus 100% inexorable ability accuracy. This is directly at Serpent, I suspect. So force field, max integrity 100% of max health. But you start each fight with a force field with integrity equal to 20% of her max health. While charging her heavy attack, Madelyne converts power into integrity, converting faster the longer she charges. So, because after you have dropped your Goblin Pit, that's what you want to be using. You don't necessarily have to drop your level 1s or level 3s if the fight's under control. So you might want to dump some existing power to, get your force field back. When Madelyne would take damage from being struck or blocking hits, the force field's integrity takes 50 or 100% damage respectively. So getting hit directly, 50%, blocked hits 100%. Kind of like Magic's Limbo. When preventing damage, the force field expends less integrity the higher the opponent's block penetration. As an attacker, while her force field has integrity, Madelyne is immune to bleed and rupture. When immune to one or more of either, the force field gains plus 5%. Nice. So double immunity there. That is always useful. And you can actually, if you are using that immunity, that's helping you in the fight. Special attack 1's very, very simple. The beam hits restore integrity based on the amount of opponent's buffs. And that's what it is. So you can recharge your force field with that. Special attack 2 is your bread and butter mechanic. So at the end of this attack, Madelyne summons a pit of gasping, clawing arms for 15 seconds, if not already active. When the opponent enters the pit, inflict an 80% hinder debuff. and Fear passive, both for 3 seconds. While in the pit, Misery, Hinder, and Fear effects are paused. While Madelyne is in the pit, her parry stun expires 100% faster but is paused while charging heavy attacks, and she gains 100% inexorable passive. During Cosmic Champion special attacks, this becomes special inexorable. So you can't get pushed back, basically. And it's a fairly straightforward. Special attack 3 is kind of cool. Once used, this attack cannot be used again for 60 seconds, so you just can't spam infinite level 3s. Power steal all bars of power that are completely full. Madelyne gains 50% of the power stolen. After 10 seconds, for each bar stolen this way, the opponent gains a power gain buff, granting 50% of bar power or 15 seconds. So you kind of steal that power, but then start giving it back. But you can use Hinder on this and fuel your Degen, so it's kind of fun. Signature ability, the Goblin Queen. Meline starts each quest with a Goblin Horde that persists until the end of the quest. When she defeats a defender, she summons another, max stacks 4, rounded down. For each Horde, Madelyne starts each fight with 20% Uncanny passive. These last until she activates special attack. So, that will help you get your level 2 quicker in like longer quests. But you start the first fight with 1 as well, so that helps. Or you can, in the pre-fight menu, Madelyne can expend hordes to carry out various tasks. Crib swap. The first buff the opponent gains is immediately nullified. After 15 seconds, they gain a cruelty buff for 30 seconds. So you can also do this to, if you're running Mystic Dispersion, fuel your Mystic Dispersion at the beginning of the fight, and then give them a buff that you can, inflict a degen from. Or Goblin Instigators. While the pit is active, the opponent is inflicted with a 30% Infuriate debuff, and this can be super helpful to just get them throw heavies faster and make sure they are aggressive and have AI cooperate with you. So not entirely sure which one would be the best one in like generic fights, but I don't know, I'm kind of leaning with the Infuriate, but I don't know. There is one wild synergy though. There are some other fun synergies, I'm not going to break them down particularly. But Unhappy Family. All champions lose 5% health, but gain 10% attack rating. They literally made domestic situations into a synergy. That is kind of dark if you think about it. Okay. So I recommended Stat Focus Relic, Mystic Dispersion. Of course, you want Mystic Dispersion. She actually does benefit from it because it's not too easy to be Goblin Queen. Pointing it out. Offensive Stat Focus, Block Proficiency makes sense. Recommended Battlecast Relic, Iron Fist Battlecast, buff potency. Afterwards stacks nicely with Madelyne's Hinder. More importantly, it guarantees that particularly any buff that has potency that activates on the opponent results in degeneration. Very good. Okay, so you heard it here first. Iron Fist Relic. I suspect that Ghost Rider Relic does nice too because of the degenerations being the main source of damage. So that is her. Obviously, we still need to find out exactly how bad easy she is defensively, because I do think that is also going to be one of those things that can potentially make or break character, because Mystic class is kind of in a fairly unique spot where we have an absolute heap ton of potent Mystic attackers. How champions like Tigra, Shatra, Kushala, and a whole bunch more that are crazy good on attack. They're like very versatile, can do cross-class fight matchups in many cases, and have like a wide list of relevant defenders that take down, and they are very much so worth it and great. From my point of view, Mystic class's biggest issue is defense, which is one of the reasons why Nico, for instance, is so good. Not only because she counters the entirety of Cosmic class up until Heimdall's release, it's also that she does have defensive value, and that definitely, made her excel a lot more. And there's only like 2 good Mystic defenders right now in the video. It is Kindred and Nico. That's about it. So, if her defense is, somewhat half decent, I think that will help her be quite a bit more popular than she otherwise would be. Especially combined with that high survivability stat, which means you can finish your fights safely with high health. And then obviously the last question is, all of this is irrelevant if she has like 0 damage. Ultimately, I think, I I can't guarantee or promise or for sure know that she's going to be crazy bonkers. She does have quite a few things that make me believe that she's going to be potentially a top 5 Mystic champion. And one of those is, again, the fact that you generally don't take damage from blocking hits. You don't rely on big numbers. You do rely on those Degens. There's not that many things that are immune to the Degens. You kind of have everything you need to succeed. You do have a fairly unique playstyle that in itself can serve as a bit of utility. Those hinders will be definitely useful against a ton of like power gain buffs and whatnot, and are a nice piece of utility in itself. So I like her. I think she's good. I do want her. The worst thing about her is obviously not being able to send her when I do get her until like 2027, and also having to wait like 3+ months to actually try and get her. But that's not her fault. We all know who to blame for that. Alright, let me know what you guys think about Madelyne Pryor, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next